When Norman Osborn's journey to redemption is sabotaged by outside sources, he will come to a major crossroads. Will he continue to be good as gold, or will he be seeing green before the night is through? Well, let's hop into the pages of Gold Goblin issue number 4, the penultimate issue of this Chris Cantwell series, and find out together, shall we? So then, as we join this issue, we see Norman having a very important meeting with Peter in the park, a meeting that by all rights probably should have happened in the pages of the main Amazing Spider-Man book, but once again, that series drops the ball and other books have to pick it up. Norman admits that him and Peter will almost certainly never be friends. Lord knows they have decades worth of truly horrible baggage between them, but at the same time, he hopes that there will come a day when Peter is willing to trust him. Or at least trust that he doesn't want to hurt Peter anymore. As a show of good faith, Norman has decided to completely open up his company to Peter. Anything he should want to do, any sort of research or advancements he wants to make, Peter no longer has to clear it with Norman. He just has to let his imagination soar. Hell, he doesn't even have to say hi to him in the hallway anymore if he doesn't want to. The idea being that Norman has stolen so much from Peter and stifled his ambitions at so many turns, it's only right in a show of true recompense that Norman actually try and help Peter out. And believe it or not, he's not the only person that Norman is trying to help out these days either. You'll remember Owen Ward, the brand new jack-o'-lantern who had attempted to kill Norman, only to ultimately be taken under the Gold Goblin's wing and promised a second chance at a better life. Norman is actually fitting the bill right now for this guy to go to therapy, and he thinks he's really making some progress. Maybe he doesn't have to be a destroyer anymore. Maybe he can actually be a healer again like he wanted. The only problem here is that Owen's psychiatrist gets a little too into the session and starts giving him bad advice, saying that the only way that this new jack-o'-lantern will change is if he's willing to get out there and start really affecting people's lives. No, he should do the opposite of that. Though on the subject of affecting lives and the universe, Gold Goblin is doing just that. He's on the streets fighting crime and even taking the boots to classic Spider-Man foes like the Shocker. Herman is hilariously pissed about this, by the way, because Norman isn't exactly hiding his secret identity, and Shocker even goes as far as to calling him a frickin' traitor, man. You used to be cool, man. What happened to honor amongst supervillains, man? Even the cops are starting to get behind Gold Goblin. So much to the point they actually tip Norman off about a quickly evolving hostage situation that he may be perfect to stop. Gold Goblin makes the scene only to realize that it's Owen back in the guise of the jack-o'-lantern. Obviously, Norman is pissed to see this guy fall back into his super villainous ways because, well, this guy reminded Norman way too much of himself, and he figured if he could save this dude's soul, then he could save his own. Norman tries to wrestle away a brand new pumpkin bomb from Jack-o'-lantern only to have it blow up in his face, assumedly killing Owen and a bunch of the people he was holding hostage. Also, despite all the love and admiration he was getting from the NYPD just a few minutes ago, apparently their love was deeply conditional and very fair weather. Now that it looks like Norman blew up the jack-o'-lantern on purpose, suddenly Gold Goblin is public enemy number 1. Which is honestly really sad because it basically just confirms everything Norman himself said back in issue 1, and that is that even if he does try and be a hero, people are just gonna wait for him to screw up so they can condemn him again. And wouldn't you know it, but the physical personification of this condemnation once again takes the form of the ghost of Gwen Stacy. Ghost Gwen derides Norman once again, saying that he'll always fail, that he'll always backslide, and that all of these attempts at redemption and recompense were ultimately for nothing. And for a split second there, we actually do see the old Norman come back as he tries to choke this ghost out. Hell, even Peter shows up at this point too, and Norman is again forced to try and defend himself, saying that this wasn't his fault, that the bomb wasn't his, and that someone very clearly put Owen up to all of this, and that Norman is going to move heaven and earth to try and find out who that person is. Though, first things first though, Norman ends up actually paying for Jack-o'-lantern's funeral. The whole thing turns into a giant media circus with everyone wanting to get a piece of him. Norman tries his hardest to maintain his innocence, but it's very clear that no one is listening to him anymore. With no other real leads, Gold Goblin tries to find out what exactly it was that set Owen off. He tries to get in contact with his psychiatrist, only to realize that she's in the car with him right now. Only that's no regular psychiatrist, that's Kafka the Queen Goblin, and oh man, I probably should have figured that it was her from the get-go. Also, great job vetting your psychiatrist there, Norman. Where did you find her? BetterHelp? Ooh, I guess I'm not getting that sponsorship now. As the comic comes to a close, Queen Goblin's plan is laid bare. She's tried to bring Norman down a few pegs, let him see how quickly people in the world will turn on him in hopes that he will once again choose to rejoin his sins. sins. And so that was Gold Goblin issue number 4, everybody, and I can't believe the next issue is actually going to be the last one. I was enjoying this character piece so much I would very happily have kept reading it. I give Chris Cantwell all the credit in the world for dealing with some really uncomfortable, really sad, really depressing subject matter here. Plenty of stories in fiction deal with the big theme of, can a bad man truly change? Is there actual redemption and forgiveness even for someone as wicked as Norman Osborn? But then you give it the extra mental illness angle, and then you're reminded that because this is comic books, obviously Norman will become the Green Goblin again. It's just a matter of time, and then you feel sad all over again, knowing that this character is basically trapped on a treadmill, forced to make the same mistakes over and over again without any real chance for growth or change. It's basically Sisyphusian in its own way. In truth, I actually don't know where the next issue is going to go. Will Norman be forced to take his sins back? Will he be doing it willingly? Or will good guy Norman find a way to stick around for a little longer even though he doesn't have his own book? Can't say for certain, but overall I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. Again, this is one of those comic pitches that really shouldn't work, but have actually ended up becoming one of the most interesting and compelling miniseries I've read in a long time, made even better by the fact that the main Spider-Man book isn't really doing it for me right now. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.